Alrighty. Hello, wonderful folks. How's everyone doing? Can people hear me okay? Check one, check two. Do I need to turn up the volume of my mic? Or not? Let me know if I do. Do I? He said, wonderingly. Is my mic okay? Can you hear me? Check 1, 2, 2, 2. It's all good, you can hear me? Okay, can you hear them? Oh wait. Can't hear the music. There's the music. How's the music also sounding? Not the undisclosed Starbucks location music, but compared to the music in the background. Is it drowning me out, or it's a bit low? Okay, so I turned down the music and turned up the microphone. Music is down. Hold on a second while I turn on the mic. I wish this was low. Okay. Let's turn that up a bit. Okay, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How is that? Is that better? Mic is still low. Is that any better now? Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Is that any better? Test, test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2. Is that any better? Is that getting better? Better, 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 better. Maybe. Any better? Yes, no. Maybe so. Is that? Okay, well, yeah, I don't want people to be maxing stuff out. Let's see. How's that? 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, 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 2. Is that any better? Okay. All right. There's that. How's that? 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How's that? Any better? Music is still very loud? Wow. How's that? How is that? That's really low on my end, but is that better? Check 1, 2, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Hey, what's up, Nonstop? Is that better? Check 1, 2, test, 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 2, 2, 2. Is that better? Any better? Any better? Any better? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Music is about even with your voice. Boy. Okay, so I cut it down even further. How about now? Is that any better? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Is that better? Check, 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 1, 2. Maybe. Better? Yes? Maybe? The background noise is louder than my voice. Okay. What do you mean the background noise? Do you mean the background noise in the shop, in like the music, or you mean the background noise in my undisclosed Starbucks? Yeah. Oh, the cafe. Well, there's nothing I can do about that. If I turn up my mic, unfortunately the cafe is going to go up too. So, yeah, exactly. That's not going to change. As long as you can hear me pretty clearly, I'm going to have myself muted in between anyway. So as long as you can hear me okay and I'm not getting drowned out by the music on the stream, then that would be all that I need there. So as long as that's the case. That's the only thing. So, yeah, as long as that's good, then we're good. So hi everybody, welcome. Welcome to, yeah, tell them to keep it down. It's not that loud here, honestly. It's just I happen to be near the where the speakers are for the music for them, but it's actually not too bad here. I found a Starbucks. Yes, I am at a, no, I'm usually, so for those of you who our more recent viewers or don't know, so I used to do these quite a bit, and I still do them on and off when I can in terms of timing, but this is Fantasy Fiction Friday. It's day 17, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of writing today. I usually do these for a couple of hours, sometime during the day on Friday before I go to pick up my daughter, little Laura, from school, and then I hang out with her, and then of course we're going to be streaming tonight, and I usually do that from an undisclosed Starbucks, and that is in fact the case here as well, and I will show you my location. I mean, the Starbucks anyway. Right there. Whoa. Forgot I need to get that. Alright, hang on just a moment. There we go. So, let me just get rid of that scroll. Yeah. No, I normally I stream at night, obviously, except on Tuesdays. But I usually, I often on Fridays try to get in a stream, and so yeah, that's what I was doing here. Oh, you met Maria at Starbucks? Nice. Starbucks name is literally undisclosed Starbucks. Well, the nice thing about this is that, you know, if you say Starbucks, pretty much that narrows it down. Not at all. You know, like if I say Starbucks, that could be one of how many Starbucks are there? Like thousands of them at this point. So there are just tons of them. Did I get your DM? Yes, I noticed that. That's where the spies are, Aaron. No, that's where they put the spies up there on that side. So, did I get your DM on Discord? I did not. It's like saying McDonald's, exactly. It's like saying I'm somewhere in the United States. Like, that doesn't help. Which is the point. Did I get your DM on Discord? Not recently, I didn't. Not if you submitted it, not if you sent it to me sometime today, because I've been busy trying to get other stuff done. I sent out the Patreon newsletter, and of course I've been following up on the Kickstarter, and all of you know now that we have funded. We are at Kickstarter DEF CON 8035. So we have funded, we are at 8035. We have 269 backers, which is awesome. So first of all, thank you for those of you who have supported and retweeted. I know a number of you have backed at a high level, and many of you have just backed, period. And even if you haven't backed, you've been talking about it and tweeting it and letting people know. So I really am appreciative of that. And now is where the real awesome begins, because we now know that this is happening. It's a thing. It's going to occur. And now the key is to get us up to make it really, really awesome. And the higher we go, the better. We will have new stretch goals that'll be getting posted later today from Alligator Rally, but I can tell you that there will be a couple of new contributors that will be coming on board at 10,000. We have more potential art that might be on the way. We have other sort of things that we're looking at. At 15,000, we have full Roll20 integration. If we got up to 20,000, I would be doing a short story in this world, so we got a lot of stuff going on. And we've got a bunch of backers as well. And of course, once we get to 300 backers, remember, at the 300 backer level, we will have these full color maps too, digital maps that are going to be done. So that's awesome, and all of that makes a big difference to the future of this project. So thank you. This is great stuff. Oh yeah. I saw that, Echo. I didn't know that was from a couple of days ago. Yes, I saw that. Thank you. Reminder, by the way, I'll talk about the schedule. The D&D with viewers is now tomorrow, not tonight. So that's great. Oh, and I see that we just got up to 8,070 with 270 backers. So, yeah. So the response to that is nice, right? It's nicer. That's the auto meme response is nice. But so just a couple of notes about that. So the schedule. So we're gonna, I wanted to go on and stream today after this happened because I was really excited about it. Obviously, we will be doing more stuff with this over the next couple of weeks. So again, this is not like, okay, we're funded, now we're good to go. Like, now is where the real awesome, as I said, begins. So we're really going to be pushing to get this as high as possible. So What I want to ask is, if you have backed already, I wanted to ask if people could go over to the Kickstarter at some point, and in addition to letting people know, retweeting, doing all that good stuff, if you could also go over and just leave a quick comment on the Kickstarter, that would be great. And here's why. One of the things we're trying to do is to get onto the hot list on KickTrack, which is KICKTRAQ. When I did my Icarus Kickstarter some years ago, we did get on the hot list. We were on it for much of the time, and that is a big help, because getting onto the KickTrack basically means that it's more visible, and that means we bring even more people in. Now that we're funded, there are a lot of people that often wait to see if something is going to fund, and then they get on board once they know that it's happening. So now that this is funded, I'm hoping that we get a bump from that. And of course, at the end of the Kickstarter, we'll get a natural bump because everyone jumps on at the last minute. But I really want to see if we can push to do that with the KickTrack. So if you were able to just head over there and just make a quick comment about it, the more that we can do comments like that, the more that helps in their algorithm. So that would be really appreciated if we could do that. Yeah, because as I say, like I have been talking and thinking quite a bit about this project, obviously, over the last few weeks, and I know about some of the contributors and sort of hidden stretch goals that we didn't reveal yet, obviously. And now that funding has happened, we can start rolling that stuff off. No, I appreciate that very much, Ardno, yeah. Generally, when I talk about this in general terms, it's because I know that a lot of you have already individually done that, but I want to make sure that people know it generally, especially if they're watching the VOD later on or whatever, that this applies to them also. And we have until, remember, 2 weeks from today, April 19th, and that's, like I say, we basically got funded just a little over halfway through the Kickstarter, which gives us 2 weeks to work on stretch goals, and that's great, because again, the stretch goals is really where the amazing qualities, I think, of this thing are going to come together. So, as far as schedule is concerned in terms of the channel, I just sent out the Patreon newsletter, and the schedule is getting increasingly locked in, so that's good. Tonight we're going to be doing the Patreon Field Chat Chosen Game of the Month from last month, so we'll be fulfilling that with Blade Runner. I got Blade Runner in. Actually, Ardnell, I used your Games Gone Gold company in Amazon, and they sent it, and I installed it. And I have to say, they sent something which allowed me to install it, because Blade Runner is an old game that doesn't work on Windows 10 usually, and it's not available on GOG or anything like that. So they sent an installation disk that allows you to work it on Windows 10, but it only worked in full screen, and full screen is a huge pain in the ass to try to stream full screen with anything, because it messes up your windows, it's hard to see what you're doing in terms of chat. But thank God for the amazing DXWND. For streamers, DXWND is so useful, and it just immediately was like, blam, windowed mode, everything works, there. So it's in windowed mode, it works, it looks good. And so we will be playing Blade Runner tonight. So I'll be doing that tonight, this evening, going from like 9 p.m. probably until about 12:30 or 1. So that'll be happening tonight. D&D with viewers is going to happen tomorrow night, starting around 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you are interested in doing D&D with me, tomorrow is the day for it. And please let people know, because I would love to get some new folks in to be able to play with me on Saturday. That would be awesome. Then next week, Tuesday, we have got the game book session coming up, illustration session of Sherlock Holmes coming with Terry Tunes, and then I'll be finishing up Thronebreaker this coming Tuesday, which is good because I've been having a great time with it, but I really want to finish it now. So I'll be finishing up Thronebreaker on Tuesday. Now, one programming note, I'm going to be doing that instead of 4 to 7, I will be doing that 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern, because I have a party for a friend of mine who is leaving a group that we both belong to, and so it's like a farewell party, so I need to be there, and that starts at 6:30. So I'm going to be doing 3:30 to 6:30 on Tuesday so I can get stuff done. Then next Thursday we have Emberwind returning with John Helfers as GM, and Brahms, and the aforementioned Marie, who are of course a part of that mix. And then Friday we have got the return of Esper Genesis, and then D&D with Infinity and Beyond and Curse of Strahd. And for those of you who missed this, amazingly, again, I'm knocking on wood, we have the full crew right now for both sessions. So both the 13th and the 20th Saturdays, we have the full 6-person party committed to both as of right now. Now again, I'm knocking on wood, these things herding cats, etc. But right now we've got a full crew for Infinity and Beyond on both Saturday the 13th and Saturday the 20th, which is great. So those are going to be really great sessions, and all of that is happening. I also want to highlight one other thing, which is that next month, remember, the Memorial Day weekend, which is that last weekend of May, will be ARFCon 2019. This is our big charity convention that we do to support the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation. So I just want to put a note out there that, to mark your calendars for that. I am not going to be starting to contact companies for another week or so, but in about a week I'm going to be starting to contact sponsors and talking about that as we gear up for the most important charity event that we do every year. And then the last thing I want to mention is on Friday the 19th, which is 2 weeks from today. That again is the wrap-up of the Forbidden Library Kickstarter. It will end at 11 o'clock that evening, and so there's going to be a big extravaganza going on that night. So just check the schedule and do all that kind of good stuff, because that would be awesome. Oh, nice. Yeah, it'll be at 7 Eastern. Now, a warning, it could slip a little bit to like 7:15, so it may not be 7 on the dot, but it'll be somewhere around 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for D&D with viewers. So that's the deal with that. So, and then I think that's all that I really needed to say. Oh, except one other thing, which is that we have 2 new global emotes, folks, which I have gotten through. The first one, I expect 7 on the dot, which is, first of all, that one, Arvany Woe. And that is basically what used to be Arvany Champ, but you will notice that the transparency is now fixed. That's thanks to Shadowed Mage being awesome. So that is a global emote, which you can use anywhere you want to. And the other one is, of course, as Echo has just put up there, Arvany What, which is also a global emote. So both of those now are available to subscribers. When you subscribe at Tier 1, you basically get, as Airdanel just showed, Arvany What, Arvany Woe, and Arvany Hype. And then if you subscribe at level 2, as he did, it is Arvany Quill. And then Arvin at the Tier 3 one, which is a couple of people, is that one. That's the Arvany So Good. Now we will have other emotes that are going to come up. I still want to do Arvany Witch, which Kilobyte is working on, which is basically like 2 arrows going this way to sort of deal with decisions and stuff like that. But that's up to Kilobyte to finish up, and then we will post that as well. But we're broadening emotes, and that's awesome. One of the reasons we're able to do that is because of the sub points. And so what I wanted to mention was I wanted to thank everyone who resubbed and stuff today. We are sitting right now at about 40 subs and about 44, 45 sub points. If we want to get that extra emote, we have to be able to hit 50 sub points. So we're going to need to move back up to like 46 or 47 so that we can have then a total of like 5 emotes, which is pretty good. Like 5 emotes, I think global emotes at Tier 1, it'd be pretty, 4 emotes at Tier 1 is pretty solid, I think, for us as a starting place. So I just wanted to let people know about that. And yeah, for sure. No, I mean, like, as I say, that's above and beyond the Call of Duty. There's a few people who supported Tier 3, which I appreciate, but that's obviously above and beyond. So, but yeah, so that's what's going on. As far as what's going on today, though, we've got more creative writing. So I am going to pop on and start doing some work. I hope to get maybe 3 pages or so written today of my manuscript in progress. I'm going to try to do some work tomorrow morning and on Sunday as well on this, because next week I get my next round of papers in, and then I have to kind of balance paper grading with my creative work also. So, but so far so good. And the other thing I wanted to just quickly mention was that my academic book, second edition of it, is coming out at the end of the month. So I wanted to mention that, Liminal Space in the Court Mask, that is going to be coming out, and so I thought I would mention that. I haven't talked about that too much because it's kind of a different. It's not necessarily this would not necessarily fit this crowd, or at least not all of it, but I definitely wanted to mention it because it is related to me, so there's that. Oh, no, for sure, dude. And like I've always said, like, you've been so generous. Like, this is never a requirement. I mean, I had to get past the whole discomfort of talking to people and asking them about support in this way, because as a creative, if I don't do that, then it doesn't happen, so you need to ask. But it's still uncomfortable to ask because I'm fully aware of the financial situation everyone finds themselves in. There's a lot of demands on people's time and on their resources, and so I'm fully aware of that. So I am most appreciative for any support people can give. It's never a requirement, but it's always appreciated. So, yeah, so that's the deal with that. So, with that said, let us get into the creative writing stuff. This is coming to you, by the way, from ARVBox 2.0, although it is ARVBox 2.0 the sort of stripped down version, because I don't, for a creative writing stream, I don't bring the external graphics unit or anything like that, because I'm not going to be streaming some complicated video game or whatever. So this is just my laptop. So but this is the stripped down version basically of RBox 2.0. It looks like the internet here is okay, not great, but okay. So hopefully there will not be too much buffering, but we will see. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, first of all, people talk about the. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Dunsell. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, and best to Commander Dunsell as well. It's the stripping version. It's for one thing, like, oops, sorry, I've got to move that over. See, for one thing, hold on a moment. Let's get rid of that. Let's go up with that. Okay, Streamception should be gone now, I believe. Yeah, like part of the problem, right, is that, let's move this over there so I can make sure we got that going on. Just make sure that I got that. Good. Okay. Yeah, part of the problem is that it's not just see you, Mrs. Dunsell, and thank you again. So part of the problem is that, imposter syndrome is a thing, which definitely is there for a lot of creatives. But also, there's just so many of us doing so much great stuff that there was a point where you almost go like, man, like how does one person, get to sort of rise above the noise? And the answer to that, of course, is that we have a lot of people on this planet. We have a lot of people who are in a position to support people, and there are a lot of people who connect to different projects. And so there are a lot of people who definitely like what we're doing on Forbidden Library, as an example, and those people are supporting. For future projects, and I told you folks I have a couple of other publishing projects that I'm involved with this year that I can't announce yet, but will be doing in the not distant future. Those are also exciting, and I think will appeal to a different, somewhat of a different crowd. There'll be crossover for sure, but I think there'll be some people that will have wanted to support this that may not support that, and some people that were not so crazy into this but are definitely going to support that. So there's different people, in that are involved with different things, and so there's always a base of support if you can reach out and find it. And this, I was thinking about it the other day. This is so I've been involved in about 6 Kickstarters, 2 anthologies, Time Travel Tales and Monsters anthology. I was involved in the Icarus anthology, the Icarus Kickstarter. I was involved in the Emberwind Kickstarter. I was involved in this current one, Forbidden Library Kickstarter, and then I was involved in a Kickstarter for Speculate, my podcast, way back in the day. And of those, I've been involved in 6 Kickstarters, and 5 of them have funded, and substantially over goal in each case. The only one that didn't fund was Speculate, and that was the first one I ever ran, and we made the mistake of thinking that it needed a Kickstarter when it really needed a Patreon. So we actually have Speculate on a Patreon now, which is great. So 5 out of 6 is a pretty good ratio, and that's just because we've been very fortunate to have good, talented people that we've worked with, and to have, we think, good products, and then to have a wonderful base of support. So I feel very fortunate about that. Okay, let's see, what is this now? Oh yeah, that's a famous one. I've actually heard that story, except it was with starfish instead of turtles, but the principle is the same, obviously, right? So the other thing I wanted to say was that this particular manuscript I've been working on, Winnie and Wormwood, which is closing in on being finished. I basically have this chapter to finish, and then I have the big epic closing. I have an interlude that I have to do, and then the big epic closing chapter, and then the epilogue. I actually read at ICFA last month, the prologue basically to this. book, and it was really well received. Like, people really liked it, and I was very happy to see that, or to hear that, because, you know, I've gotten good response from my daughter, who was kind of my target audience in a way, her age group, and I got good response there. I got a good response from, you know, a couple of my beta readers, but until you read it to people that don't know you very well at all, and they're just strangers that are just there to hear readings, it's not really clear how it's going to go across, but it reads really nicely, and so they're very pleased with it, and so I'm excited to you know, get through and get finished with it and get into the revision process, because I want to be able to start querying this basically sometime midsummer, and I don't want to have any outstanding writing projects going on once we get past June, because this year is going to be busy. Like, not only do we have the Forbidden Library that I'm going to have to wrapping up the third part of, but we have this other publishing project I mentioned, you know, promotion, a lot of travel. So there's a lot on the docket, and so I would like to get this thing done and available and out there onto the query market going forward. So hopefully we can do that. So, all right, I'm going to be on for another hour and a half, so I think I'm going to get to it so I don't waste more time. So I will mute myself, but as always, if you have questions and stuff, please chat it up, because that's what this is all about. It's this is probably a good sign, I think. So you might have noticed that if you're reading this section right now, so this is totally related to what we're talking about in the library, because it literally takes place in the library. I forgot that I had left off in that section. So she was sitting at one of the round wooden tables in the library at Crail Stevens in what was called the old wing of the main building. This name didn't really make much sense, since the only newer part of the building than the library was the gymnasium. But the anonymous wealthy donor who had given the money which made the library possible had insisted on particular sorts of books and a particular design for the room, with many bookshelves lining the walls on 2 floors, with an open central area where the tables sat and an iron spiral staircase against one wall leading to the 2nd floor. Looking up, Winnie could see motes of dust visible in the shafts of sunlight coming through the narrow windows in the roof, and the woody, smoky smell of leather-bound covers and yellowing paper was everywhere. It all felt old somehow, and so the old wing name had stuck. Winnie had liked the library the first time she had seen it. It reminded her of the antique shop, and the look and smell of the books was comforting. But she had to admit that it had problems too, mostly because neither it nor Mr. Forrest, the school's librarian, whose wispy white hair and long beard made him look twice as old as the library itself, had been able to help her with her report. She had now been at Crail Stevens for 3 weeks, long enough that the other students staring at her had either become a bit less obvious, or she had grown more used to it, and that she had started to create a regular routine which helped her fall into line with everyone else. Timothy and Andrew were still a problem, but they were in trouble so often that she rarely saw them outside of the building anymore. And because Mr. Caladoris had been sick for a few days and then running fitness tests for the older grades, she hadn't needed to climb the wall of the gymnasium again since the first incident. Classes were mostly fine, too. She enjoyed French and Spanish, and music, taught by a soft-spoken young teacher named Mr. Kremicki, was rapidly becoming one of Winnie's favorite subjects. Even Mrs. Fontaine was trying to help her fit in as much as possible, although Winnie would have preferred being just a little less enthusiastic. So things were going along okay, all except the report, which continued to loom ever closer as the days passed. Try as she might, Winnie couldn't find anything which really interested her to write about. She liked looking at the stars, but describing their brightness or mass or anything other such scientific things left her cold. Any other is what it should be. Any other such scientific things left her cold. She cared a great deal about the ocean, but writing about creatures within it, ones which anyone in the class, including Mrs. Fontaine, would believe actually existed, didn't seem particularly compelling either. And Susan's report had already addressed everything anyone could ever imagine and many things they couldn't about pollution. Teachers gave her many ideas: weather patterns, volcanoes, sound waves, the human body, trees, atoms and molecules. But none of them intrigued Winnie, not even a little bit. She tried to force herself to write about the three-toed sloth, but didn't get much further than "sloths can take weeks to digest a meal," before realizing that she couldn't fool herself into thinking this was interesting for an entire 10-minute report, and gave the whole thing up. But now as she stared down at a book about the Amazon rainforest, wait for it, sorry, it's just a little bit of a thriller break. But now, as she stared down at a book about the Amazon rainforest, trying and repeatedly failing to keep her eyes open, Winnie knew she was in big trouble. Her report was a week away, and the others had finished their reports a long time ago. Everyone was going to be focused completely on her during a presentation, the whole time. Winnie imagined all the eyes staring at her while she explained lower-level vegetation and shuddered as she closed the book. This was never going to work. "I thought you'd have found something good to talk about by now," a voice said by her elbow, and Winnie jumped, knocking her knee painfully into the table at which she was sitting. But she already knew who it was without looking. "I asked you to stop doing that, Robin," she complained as she rubbed her sore knee. "It's rude, and it could be dangerous." "More dangerous," she added as she checked her leg for blood before turning to see Robin's freckled face curved to accommodate a smile. "Besides, Mr. Forrest doesn't want people in here who don't have classwork to do." "Who says I don't?" he replied, his grin widening. Winnie hadn't seen much of Robin over the last couple of weeks, ever since Mr. Wormwood's warning, just occasionally when she passed him on the way to class, or when she was at lunch or in the gymnasium. Sometimes he was on his own, sometimes with a group of other students eating lunch, but every time he seemed to be smiling and waving just at her. "Well, there's the fact that you haven't been in Mrs. Fontaine's class for days," Winnie pointed out. Robin shrugged. "I'm always around, though." Okay. And that brings us up to date. Almost forgot the delicacy today, lemon loaf. I see what you did there, Erdnell. I approve. No, this is from my. No, although I can see why you'd say that. No, this is. I haven't. Until we get the funding, I'm not going to work on that short story for it. No, this is my manuscript in progress for my middle grade novel called Winnie and Wormwood. Because 174 pages would be kind of a lot for a short story. We're at, what, 43,000 words now, so. I don't think. What's up, here, Corinne? I don't actually think I even. Lemon loaf with homemade candied Buddha's hand lemon pieces. A lot of what you just described, I don't even think I knew about. Buddha's hand lemon pieces? That does sound like amazeballs. Well, from your lips to the publisher's ears, Ardenell. First, it's got to actually get. I got to query with it, and it's got to get accepted. But I'm proud of this book. I feel happy with it. So hopefully others will agree. I never heard about that. And is it? I want to see if I get this pronunciation right. Is it Byakurin Huju? Byakurin Huju? Did I get it even close to right? I want to try to pronounce these things correctly if I can. And yes, I absolutely would like to do another live event. Yay! Okay, that's cool. Yeah, no, I had never heard of that. That's awesome. So Brahms, yes, I absolutely would love to do another live event. And my hope is that we will not have those issues again. I mean, what we really need is a wired connection. It's just not, Wi-Fi is, if you, like I'm doing Wi-Fi right now, if you have to do Wi-Fi, you can, but it's just, especially in a hotel environment, it's just not reliable enough. There's too many things that can get in the way. You really need a wired connection to be comfortable doing a stream stuff. So, yeah, no, I'd never heard of it before. Oh yeah? Is that true? Okay. Yeah, because I had never heard of it. Wenchkin, what's going on? Good to see you, Wenchkin. Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, like, that would be awesome. She should see, it would be funny, if CBC's doing coverage, it would be funny if somehow we got a little bit of the live session on CBC. That'd be pretty sweet. But either way, yes, that would be great. That would be super great. It's good to see you, Wenchkin. It's been a while, man. How are you? Uh huh. Green Bay, Wisconsin. That is what that is. Yep, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Yeah, I hear that, man. I hope all's well, though, Winston. It's always good to see you, man. Have you had a chance to see we've got the Forbidden Library Kickstarter going on, Winchkin? The D&D 5th edition source book and adventure. We just funded this morning, so we got another 2 weeks to work on stretch goals and stuff. So that's what that number is, since you are a D&D aficionado like myself. Yeah, that link is up there right now, which can we had people jump up on board. It's basically yep, it's hardcover full color artwork, and we're 30 backers away from getting high res digital maps. Also, art. There's a ton of contributors. Ed Greenwood is going to be contributing. Kat Rambo, Carlos Hernandez, Mike Underwood, a bunch of people from the gaming industry. Kenneth Height, Matt Forbeck, just a ton of people. James Tricasso, a bunch of people from all over are doing this. We just did a podcast last night talking more about the different contributors. At $10,000, we're going to get more contributors involved with names you people have heard of, and so it's pretty sweet. Ooh, nicer. Oh. Yeah, I don't know whether they would. The only thing is, I don't know, Brahms, whether they would let, whether Marie would let us do 2 live events, because I want to do AME again, Adventures of Middle Earth again, because Amal is going to be there, so definitely that would be something which would work, and I'm going to be there. No, I didn't. I mentioned Ed Greenwood first. Nicer, because obviously he's the OG, right? He's the original Greenwood. No, I'm believe me, I'm very excited to have him on board. No problem at all. Oh, that's cool. Thanks, Winchkin. Yeah, no, not a requirement. Just I wanted to mention it since obviously we've done D&D stuff. That's funny, Eric. No. Yep. Yeah, it's pretty cool. We were talking about that on the podcast last night. What's up, Lindris? I am working on my work in progress, which is my middle grade novel, Winnie and Wormwood, which is in the home stretch now. Right. No. I definitely get that, Echo. I appreciate that. And yeah, I do want to try to get new people in if I can. That's why I want to let people know about the D&D with viewers thing. So hopefully. Thank you, sir. I am doing D&D with viewers tomorrow night, in fact, Wenchkin. You have good timing. I'm doing Blade Runner tonight, which is to finish the Patreon chosen game of the month from last month. And then tomorrow night at 7, I'm doing D&D with viewers. And I'm probably going to be continuing, there's a good chance I'm going to continue that dungeon that I started with Echo and others, and Rock God and others, a couple months ago. I'm probably going to continue that, I think, and just sort of go forward with that group, possibly using different characters. We'll see. I'll either do that or I'll do another one of those one-page dungeons. So. Yeah, it really is a cool. I totally agree, Echo. It's an awesome map. I was thinking about the fact, for those of you who saw us doing, I've been having a great time doing the Inkle sorcery stuff, but the fact that Mike Schley did those maps, it is so awesome because I love, like, Mike Schley's work is freaking so good, and like I was like, no wonder I love these maps. I like really like that style. So. Not that Mike Schley did the dungeon, but I was just reminded of awesome maps. Right, exactly right. Yeah, exactly. Yep, Eastern. Is that like, is that 9 a.m. your time on Sunday, Lynchkin? Is that right? I run into this all the time because I have a good friend in New Zealand that I'm doing some stuff with, and it's always like my Monday evening is like his Tuesday lunchtime or whatever. I was in Australia back in 2000, and that was a weird thing for me. It was the fact that I was like calling to someone that was the day before. Like, I'm used to like time zone differences of a few hours, you know, if I go back and forth to the West Coast or whatever, but like a time zone difference of that amount is still a little odd for me to get my head wrapped around. Yeah, man. Well, there's There is a lot of discussion about next year is going to be an interesting year because this good friend of mine happens to be the chair of the Worldcon committee, which is and Worldcon is in New Zealand. Now, the big issue for me is that because of things beyond anyone's control, they end up having to move Worldcon back a couple of weeks, which means that it now conflicts with Gen Con, which sucks because Gen Con is my favorite convention every year. And so the prospect of missing it is very, very hard for me. Like, I do not want, and wouldn't be missing it this year, it'd be next year. But on the other hand, it's New Zealand, you know, and like, it's so, I don't know. But we're talking about a lot of options. I know that Saad obviously is down there too. And we're talking about a lot of options about ways that we can handle stuff and what we can do about it. So I'm seriously considering it. It's the only thing I would ever miss Gen Con for would be that sort of once in a lifetime type of thing. So we'll see. You gotten used to 8 hours? It's just so weird to me. Like a few hours of time difference is one thing, but just like 14, 15 hours is just so kind of like, whoa, hard to get my head wrapped around. Oh God, hard to know. I see. You got used to the huge time difference. Are you, Björkarin, are you U.S. time somewhere? You don't have to go into details, but are you somewhere in the U.S. time zones? Oh, okay. GMT +2. Okay. What is that? What is GMT +2 for UTC? Because I know UTC is 5 hours ahead of us. So is like, is UTC GMT? Is UTC the same thing as GMT? Oh, it is? Okay, so then you're 7, that means you're 7 hours ahead of me. Okay, so it's like 8:40 there. Okay, cool. Okay, sounds good. Sleep well, Winchkin. Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by, as always. I gotcha. Yeah, now Europe has done. Europe is now on daylight savings now, right? It was this past weekend that they switched over, which is when we should switch over. By the way, if we have to do daylight savings, which is dumb, we shouldn't be doing it in mid-March. Because they're sensible. That's why, because they're sensible, because they know that daylight savings is dumb. Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's a relic, Aerodinal. It's a relic, and a lot of people don't even within the current environment, need this relic. Even the so-called farmers that were supposedly doing all this in the first place don't need it. So, it's a relic that needs to be relegated to the past. Exactly, we are not. More's the pity, though, Bjarkran, actually. I kind of like oil lamps. I actually have somewhere in my garage. I used to use it all the time. And actually, there was a time when I was living in Connecticut where we lost electricity for a good 30 hours. And we had like a big snowstorm or whatever. And actually, I had an oil lamp that kind of kept me warm. One of those deals that, you have oil and then you turn the wick and you turn the knob and the wick goes up, and the more it goes up, the brighter the light gets. I kind of like oil lamps, but they're not exactly light efficient. Yeah, those things are cool. What's up, Tobik? Oh my god, a week and a half? Is that just because of limited support for the infrastructure where you are, Ardenel? Is it, or is it like? And also, do you have above ground wires or below ground wires for Maine? Because it seems like your internet's pretty decent, and I wondered if it was like you use buried lines or above ground lines. Maine is all above ground. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, what a lot of people say is the gold standard for this is below ground buried. Although, okay, sounds good. Do Phil Wellecka. It is, Miss Daria, it is. This is, I usually do these a lot on Fridays. Usually, I don't know, 5 or 6 of these during the year. And I'm coming to you from an undisclosed Starbucks where I'm working on my current work in progress, which is a middle grade novel, and celebrating the funding of our Kickstarter, which funded at 8,000, and now we're on to stretch goals with 2 weeks to go. So that is my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library Kickstarter. So that's what I'm doing. Bjarkurin, that is freaky. Really? That's freaky. I feel like hitting your head on cables would be very bad. Yeah. Well, I don't know if like burying it like maybe the grounds, like if you buried it, maybe like if something did go wrong. Yeah, like that's basically what you just said. Like it would be basically frozen and you wouldn't be able to get it dug up and fixed, I guess. Maybe that's why. So, true. True, yeah. Right, 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 right. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually sleeting here right now, which is, I actually, there has been, I remember there was a blizzard once on my mother's birthday. My mother was born in April 6th, and I know that there was a there was a snowstorm once, I remember. But most of the time, by the time you get to April 6th, you're pretty clear of any kind of stuff. But you can still get low ones. It's going to get warmer over the weekend, and by next week, I think we'll be past any danger zone of sleet and stuff like that. But so yeah, but it's definitely chilly here today. You can get snow in May. I lived on when I was in Connecticut. I lived on a thing called Hilltop Drive, which was usually it was about 3.5 miles up, so not like a mountain. It was, but in the hills, and usually it was about 3 to 4 degrees colder up there than it was down in the rest of the town. So there were a lot of times where it would be, icy and snowing up there, and you got down below, and it was just sort of like regular rain. But you had to be careful if you were driving home and it was regular rain but it was cold, not to assume that you were going to get that all the way up because it was going to transition. And I'm here to tell you, you do not want to be slipping and sliding on Connecticut hills in weather. Whoa. It's cool that you get decent internet up there, Ardnell, if you're that far up. Yeah. Well, when I moved to Connecticut when I was 7, I lived in a place called Dowd Avenue. And it was basically a condo complex. And then when I was a freshman in high school, we had this log home that my father had general contracted for. So we moved to this log home on 10 Hilltop Drive. And that's where I lived from 86 through basically 92, because I went to the first 2 years of college. I graduated in 1990, and my first 2 years of college were at the University of Connecticut, Hartford, so that I could stay at home and save money, basically. So for the first 2 years I commuted. And then I moved off out of my house in 1992, and I never came back in terms of permanent living. And the house was still in the family all the way through until my mother passed away in 2009, and then we ended up selling the house. I think 2010 is when we actually sold it. So from 1986 to 2010, that was the house that I was in Connecticut. So. Yes, yeah. Yeah, my mother would have been 1936, so yeah, she would have been 83. She would have been 83, and my grandmother on that side lived until the age of 89 or 90, I believe. So yeah, so she would have been 83. Oh, sure. Echo, sure. You're welcome to do that. Thank you. I don't know that her. She passed away in late October of 2009. So sometimes I've put, I don't really have a specified thing like time where I think of like this is the date that I think about her. But I usually definitely think about her around ArvCon time. Obviously, because one of the big starting points for ArvCon, as you know, was when my dog passed away, when Lilo passed away from cancer, which reminded me of the loss of my mother and my just other people that have been affected by it. So yeah, we have friends who've been affected by cancer who are survivors and still dealing with it and whatever. So I usually think about her around ArvCon time, but sometimes I think about her birthday, and sometimes I think about when the day that she passed away. So, but yeah, 10 years ago. That's the thing that's weird, is that my dad has been gone now 20 years because because for him it was 1998, so he's been, this November it'll be 21 years since he passed away, and my mother 10 years, which is really weird. In a way it feels like it's been that long, and in a way it feels like it hasn't been, so such is life, right? Yep, the Pedro Lilo clip. They really did look like each other too. Yeah, that's interesting. That is one of those oddities, isn't it? Yeah. Sometimes there were definitely resonances to given, years and times for sure. Oh wow, Aradinel. Yeah, wow. That is young. Yeah, I mean, my parents were older. My mother had me. I was born in 1972, so my mother had me when she was 36, and my father was 6 years older than her, so had me when he was 42. But I too have that a little bit. Because my daughter, Senevine, was born in 2008 when I was 36. And obviously my son came, my mini Arv, my son, was born in 2016 when I was 44. So, is that right? 45, because it was September of that year. So it was, no, what? No, 44. I was 44. So I was a little bit older. But, sometimes it just is what it is, like in terms of where you're at in your life at that time. So. Yeah, I remember, Erdna, you've always talked quite a bit, I think very movingly sometimes, about your grandmother, about playing video games with her. Seems like she was a pretty special person. Yeah. So you got to see your mom graduate, Aradno? I mean, graduate from college? Wow. She became a molecular biologist. That's pretty good, though. That's pretty good, though, let me just say. Both college and high school. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's cool. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, different time period for sure. Very different time period. Yeah, I can't, yeah. Frustrating, I imagine. Oh, yeah. University of Maine main campus is in Bangor, right? I want to say isn't there a campus of UMaine that's in Orono, right? Because I visited the UMaine campus once, and I can't like the main one, I think, and I can't remember where. Orono, okay. Yeah, well, that's charming. Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember which was the original. Yeah. The first debate tournament that I was ever top speaker at was Bates College in Maine. It was yeah, it was really great. We were the top team there. We'd actually won the year we had won the previous academic year at Providence, but that was the first time as a speaker. Hey Thorg, what's up, man? Good stuff, man. The power of libraries. 5-day weekend. That is a weekend, Thorg. That's a lot of weekend. Nice Muse. It's good stuff. Hey, what's up, Paxi? Yes, this is my creative writing stream. I'm going to be on for another half hour or so. I'm doing work on my work in progress, and I wanted to get a little bit of writing in on stream because to celebrate the Kickstarter, which is at 8,070 now. So we're moving in the right direction. Thank you, Sorcerer Dave. Good to see you, and thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're very happy. Obviously, that we're funded this early, and then we have another couple weeks to work on stretch goals and make it into really something super awesome. So, my thoughts on the 2019 Bo Sox season is that it's has not been a great start. Fortunately, the Yankees have also sucked, and frankly, it's just hard for me to get all that fired up about being upset about it when the Red Sox have won 4 World Series in 16 years, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still feeling so good about how last year went that I'm just kind of like, eh. I mean, obviously I want them to do well, but, you know. Yeah, it's a little bit of that. Well, it's not just that. It's that, but it's also, they never do well on the West Coast. Like, they literally are starting out on the West Coast. So I think that's part of it, too, is that they're just kind of out in weird environments, and they're doing this big West Coast swing. They need to get back out to, the East Coast, and I think things will improve. But again, I don't really think I have to worry about Toronto, Baltimore, and Tampa Bay, like, blowing them out of the water. So the fact that the Yankees have also been pretty bad, So I'm not too concerned. I'm actually looking forward to the Celtics and the NBA playoffs. So, yep. It's amazing, though, because all I heard on sports radio was how the Yankees were automatically the World Series champions and how they were going to easily run roughshod over the Red Sox because they added one pitcher and, other than that, brought back the same team that won fewer playoff games than the year before. This happens every year. The Yankees, sports radio around the Yankees, playoff comes. They say they're too right-handed, they strike out too much, they're too power-hungry, they're too driven by trying to get home runs, and they have an old team with a subpar starting rotation. They all say that, and then the new season comes, they completely forget about all that, and they are too right-handed, too much power, too many strikeouts, mediocre starting rotation, and, but they're like, we have a great bullpen. I'm like, you had a great bullpen last year, and it didn't do bupkis for you in the playoffs. It's amazing. It's Groundhog Day with these people all the time. And I predict it'll happen again. They'll get to the playoffs. They will, again, not get anywhere. Again, people will be like, wow, we need to change next year. And then they won't change next year, and everyone will make them favorites again. It's amazing. Some angry Yankee fans. They would acknowledge what I'm saying. They would acknowledge that their team has been, well, I shouldn't say that. Some of them would. Like, Russ, for example, from our vocalist, Russ is a longtime Yankees fan, but he agrees. Like, every year they do the same thing. Like, it was just amazing to me that you would just, how can you claim that a team is the favorite over the Red Sox when the Red Sox were literally the winners, like clearly the best team in baseball last year from beginning to the end, and won their 4th World Series in 16 years. Like, the Red Sox are the team of the millennium. That's not even hyperbole. And yet the Yankee people were like, all right. Yes, I had it. I ordered it from a place called Games Gone Gold on Amazon, and they sent it and sent an installation disk for Windows 10, and I was able to install it fine. And then DXWND allowed me to run it in window mode. So all seems to be going well. Yeah, they were on Amazon, so that was good. It was good. I just wasn't sure if it was going to get there in time, but it did. So. Yeah, it's a game that was just not at all on my radar screen, and I have to say that I tried it, obviously just to make sure that it worked yesterday, and so it's obviously point and click, but there's like that there's no manual that came with it, so I'm really just going to have to do a lot of kind of guessing. I know how to shoot, like you can right click and then left click at something to shoot, and then you just everything else is sort of click and use, but there's not a lot of like it's all context sensitive, like there's no click this to make like a little mouth, click this to make a view. Like, it's not like, like I think, what is it, Monkey Island or anything like that, where you, like, literally there are different icons for different things. So. Yeah, that's probably the only way to be totally sure about it, Thor. Yeah, I haven't even. A, I don't really worry about spoilers, and B, I haven't even seen Infinity War. I honestly am starting to fade with my interest with the Avengers movies. Like, there's just too many of them, and I don't. I haven't seen Ragnarok yet. I haven't seen. I honestly have not even seen Black Panther yet. Now that one I do want to see, but I haven't seen. I didn't see the Ant-Man movie. I didn't see the Ant-Man Wasp movie. I didn't see Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I just haven't seen enough of these movies. Like the last one I saw was I finally saw Infinity War. I mean, not Infinity War, Civil War. I finally saw Civil War, and which is fine. But I'm just kind of like I don't get to see that many movies anyway, and like it's not that urgent for me. I haven't seen Captain Marvel. I don't really have that much interest in seeing that anyway, so I don't know. Yeah, no, I've heard really good things about Black Panther. I do want to see that. I saw Into the Spider-Verse, which was great, but which is not the same thing obviously, but yeah, and I heard good things about Ragnarok also. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I mean, like, Black Panther I want to see, Ragnarok maybe, the other ones, eh. Right, exactly. That's kind of how I am with that era, no. Yeah, Into the Spider-Verse was great. Yeah, I agree. But, like, a lot of them I'm just kind of like, oh, Jesus. Like, there was a point where I kept up with all of them. I saw Thor 1, Thor 2, Iron Man 1 and 2, and 3. Yeah, I saw 3 also. I saw... The Avengers. I saw Winter Soldier, which was great. I saw Captain America, the first one, and Winter Soldier. I saw what do you call it? Guardians of the Galaxy 1, which I didn't really like. I saw Doctor Strange, which I did like. So, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. My wife has seen some of these, but yeah, they handled it. Miles Morales is a great character. They handled him really well. They just it's just a good movie, first of all, like just good storytelling, but it was just also really well directed, and a very complex, like involved plot, which somehow gets held together. It's kind of crazy because it's a kind of movie that I usually don't like because it's so manic. It's so like normally I don't like movies that are manic. I don't like tons of stimulus, but this was a case where somehow that didn't bother me. I don't know why. I think just because the coordination of it was really well, and it's not bleak either. There's an element of hope to it. It's not the same cynical, like everything is dark and brooding and gray and devastating. Like, so I really liked it. Also, and the music was well done. There's a sequence where Miles figures out basically the kind of Spider-Man he wants to be, and the music that's playing during that sequence is awesome. And by the way, and completely authentic, and complete, like, hip hop and rap, completely authentic to Miles' experience. Like, just very cool, very very cool. And PG, and it's nice not to have a movie that has to be R to be edgy. Like, it does not have the Deadpool effect of it's cool because it's R. It's cool and it's PG. So I really liked it. Mostly because it meant I could see it with my kid. A freaking men. Yeah, it didn't feel like a kid's film, but it didn't also, Thorg, feel like it was a film that worked on multiple levels. It didn't have this kind of sense, because I'm very sensitive to that. I find it very frustrating when people are like, "Oh, you can watch this. It's fine." Like I think there's a lot of movies that are not suitable for kids, regardless of whether people think it's fine. I'm like, the fact that the kid isn't telling you how they feel doesn't mean that they're fine, because they're not. But this is a kid thing that you don't have to worry about that with that. Yeah. Exactly, Thor. Yep. That was pretty sweet. Yeah. It's good. I highly recommend Spider-Verse. Yeah, you know what, Sorcerer Dave? You know the thing about that is, this is nothing against Joaquin Phoenix. Enough with the Joker. Like, can we get a break from the Joker? How many reboots do we have to have at the same thing? Like, to me, the definitive Joker was done with Heath Ledger, or Mark Hamill. Like, if you want to talk about just the VA stuff, like Mark Hamill obviously is the GOAT, obviously. But enough. Like, I've played. How many games have I played where the Joker's the main guy? How many movies do we have to watch with the Joker? Like, come on. Like, I understand that he's the most of the, but Jesus, like, enough with the Joker. So that's the only problem. It's nothing against him, and also not for nothing, but like, the experience of watching someone descend into madness does not interest me. Like, I think I always get this mixed up. Is it Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? Is the one that's kind of the sort of addiction movie, and then Leaving Las Vegas is the funny one, right? I think it's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Another movie like this is Rush. Those are both good movies, but I don't want to watch that. Like, I don't want to watch someone descending into madness and despair. Do I want to watch American Beauty? Not really. You know, can I acknowledge it's a great movie? Sure, but like, not. Good God, you know. So, yeah. I'm with you on that, Echo. Yeah. So again, like, I want a break from the Joker. It's not that I don't ever want to go back there, but I think that thing is mined enough for now. Like, give us, you know, God knows there's enough other stuff in the Batman universe. Let's move away from him for, give us like 5-6 years, and then you can come back to him and start doing them again. But just more Joker. Like, these guys have to come up with ideas outside the box. Oh, yeah, I understand, Aaron. No, yeah. Yes, good example. And I've seen Taxi Driver, and that's exactly right. And Taxi Driver is a very good, and I think sometimes even underrated film, but oh my God, is it bleak. And I don't, again, it's one of those movies, like, I don't think every film needs to be seen by every person, regardless of its quality. There were some movies that are, you know, it's like, do you really want to watch Despairing, you know, Schindler's List? Or the opening sequence of Saving Private Ryan. I don't have to see that. I can admire it and be like, that's great filmmaking. Don't want to see it though. You know, so. Yeah. And listen, you're talking to someone who has a whole trilogy, a whole series that he's working on about an assassin in a dark fantasy city. So obviously, if I'm writing about a character named Greyshade, who's a religious assassin, obviously I'm okay with writing, you know, dark work. But it's got to have a grace note. It's got to have a sense of hope. And I just don't feel, a lot of these things don't have hope to me. So. Oh, that's interesting. Well, sometimes some movies, like especially horror movies, can have a cathartic effect. But there's a difference, I think, between horror and bleak, right? A movie where everything is bad and it just gets worse is one thing. A movie where it's just like horror is almost like this quick, over the top sort of thing, and so it doesn't have necessarily the same effect as something like my gosh, I don't know, like Seize the Day, which I do recommend because it's so wonderfully acted, but that is also very bleak. Another movie that I always thought was bleak that I have a hard time with is Brazil. Now, Brazil is supposed to be funny, but I don't find it funny. I find it just incredibly bleak and depressing. So, but that's not horror. That's just kind of like, satirical and a couple of other things sort of added into that mix. So, yeah. Oh gosh. Jeez, Aaron, no, that's rough. That's rough. It's interesting though because it suggests that it is possible for other people to get a vague sense of what it is you've experienced. I'm not saying obviously you have to live with it all the time and all that. I'm not saying, but there must be something good about feeling as if you can communicate a little bit of what it sounded like. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Exactly, Sorcerer Dave. Right. There's some stuff that you're sort of like, oh wow, but it's just kind of like, eek, I really, and like for example, I find Road Warrior, Mad Max: The Road Warrior, to be much more uplifting than Brazil, even though Road Warrior no one would ever accuse of being a comedy, and Brazil some people think of as being this dark comedy, but yeah. Especially the ending. Oh, really, Erdnell? I did not see Blade Runner 2049. I heard good things about it, though. I heard good things about it. It's funny, too, because I heard that it got very good critical reviews, but it didn't do anything in the box office, was my understanding. So, yeah. Oh, really? Well, I don't know that you can consider it a library because it's not a place that you access those books nicer, right? You work in a place where you distribute them and they don't come back to you. So a library is a repository. It's where books go and people take books out and go to it for knowledge, but then they go back and put the books back in. Whereas for you, most of the time you're not taking the books back in. So yeah. No, I've heard good things about it. And of course, Blade Runner is a very different thing, very different in a lot of ways from and also good in its own way, but very different from Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, the original book, of course. You could sort of say that maybe Snicer. Yeah, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is really, really interesting. It's not perfect, but it's got a lot of things that it does well. There you go, Snicer. Yeah, I haven't seen Ex Machina. Nice. Okay, there's 3 pages. Good, good, good. Since I'm going to have to close up shop in about 7-8 minutes, I will hang with you wonderful folks for the next few minutes while we get ready here. But 3 pages today. Good. It ends on a confusing note. Yeah, I'm not leaving instantaneously, but in the next few minutes I will. Alright, so let's see where we're at. 8,070, 270 backers. Good stuff, good stuff. Yeah, there are some movies too that have this sort of like such oddness, I guess, that it almost doesn't feel it doesn't feel depressing as much as it feels confused. So yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with Dune also. The mid 80s David Lynch Dune with Sting and with Patrick Stewart was flawed, but I think was interesting. And truthfully, the book was... I gotta be honest, I don't love Dune. I mean, I finally read it last year completely, after having not done so for a long time, because it's a very dense read. I find Lord of the Rings to be a lot more, although there are certainly comparisons, it was a lot more... I think it's better written, frankly. I think that Dune is awfully dense, and has parts that you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, it's kind of a slog. I think I mentioned that I read the Last Wish, The Witcher. I read right after that, and like maybe part of the reason that I enjoyed The Last Wish so much is that it was so much of an easier read, like not even close. So yeah. So I don't know about whether Dune translates. I mean, there's so much, and I love political intrigue. I think Dune is better suited for like a mini-series type of thing than a kind of long epic film. So yeah, exactly. There's a lot of information overload. I think even the style of it is a little slow. Just goes on and on and on. So that's part of it too. So. The original Tron? Yeah, that's kind of what I feel. Tron is great. The original Tron I thought was really, really... I found the original Tron very resonant with me. I think because of when I saw it as a kid. I don't think it's like incredibly well done, but the visual style was so fascinating that it kind of stayed with me. Like that dude who like holds the tower, the old guy, that whole sequence always stayed with me. And the whole like end of line type of thing. So that's part of it. Oh, that's interesting, Elias. Yeah. I love Dickens, I have to say. I love Dickens, one of my favorite writers. But yeah, Pratchett is also great. What's up, Vision Shot? It's strange you see me online now writing. Yes, although I'm about to sign off for now. I'll be back, of course, this evening. And the reboot one. Yes, Nicer, yeah. Yeah, I've heard good things about Tron Legacy. I have not seen that. I have not seen it. But I don't know a whole lot about it one way or the other. Yeah, it's true, but it was like that. The visual was so powerful in Tron for me that almost the rest of it kind of just worked because the visual was so powerful. I don't know. But again, that also is when I was watching it. I was like, well, what was I when it came out? Like 10, 11? So, like, honestly, the Neverending Story doesn't really hold up either, right? But at a certain point, I found that really powerful. Or Krull. Krull, which I would still argue is underrated. Krull is good. Yeah, exactly. Like, Krull is super legit, and a lot of people don't, it's clearly goofy in some ways, but I don't know. It's something that had a powerful effect. I remember playing the video game of Tron, like the arcade video game of Tron, like the light bikes and everything. I remember playing that. And the, da 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 da. Yes, plus, it's got the Widow of the Web, which is a great sequence. It's got the Cyclops dude with the prophecy, which I actually ran debate cases about, and it's got the greatest weapon of all time, the glaive. At the very end of that film, the glaive, like everyone's like, oh yeah, he loses, he's gonna have to worry about the princess. I'm like, the hell with the princess? He lost the glaive. Like that's the real tragedy here. The tragedy here is he lost the goddamn glaive. Like any red-blooded American male of the time, geek male of the time, freaking the glaive was where it was at. Dude, I want the freaking Never-Ending Story. I'll say this though, Never-Ending Story. Two things. First of all, the horse, Atreyu, right? The horse. But the other thing was the wolf. Yeah, it's really well done, right, Aaron? But the wolf in the Neverending Story, super legit. That wolf, like with his eyes in the background, which by the way, again, that's Henson. The freaking wolf back there, being in the back and just being like, the nothing takes the. Oh my god, dude. Oh, that wolf was scary as hell, but like really effective. Although the princess was creepy. Like the Queen of Neverland, or well, not Neverland, the Queen of the fairy whatever realm was creepy, like really creepy. But man, yeah, Swamp of Sorrows, and of course the fact that look, you get to take out bullies on your own Lux Dragon, like that. Who didn't want that? That's funny. There's been a couple of big moments with horses. One of them was the Neverending Story. But like the other thing was the Neverending Story was part of it, but the other one was Shadow of the Colossus. If you've played the Shadow of the Colossus game, the horse, man. That's all I'm going to say, the horse. Not Neverland, it's whatever it is, the queen of whatever that fairy thing is. I don't remember. So... That's who it is. Yeah, the Empress of Fantasia. Oh, really? That's cool, though. She was into Frozen now. That's her favorite. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, she. At some point, I'd see if I showed my daughter right now Neverending Story, she would not be a fan of like the ending of that. Not the ending, the stuff leading up to it. She'd be freaked out by it. Do not challenge into a trivia duel. No, I would. Rock God and I got into a battle over 80s bands, and Rock God won, although 80s, specifically 80s metal bands, and Rock God won, but I held my own. I think I would do well in a competition of movies, but I don't know that I would beat Aradinel on it. I don't think so. That's my guess. Oh God, Neverending Story Part 3. That's funny. Actually, but I get trolled. All right, folks. Well, this has been a great time. I really enjoyed this, and we managed to get some good work done on Winnie and Wormwood in a couple of hours. That was good, and I got a chance to chat with all of you wonderful folks. So we had a battle of the bands. Yes, we did. We basically had a battle of the bands. It's exactly what we did. But I've got to get out of here and go and pick up my daughter, and I will be back tonight with Blade Runner. In the meantime, let me ask you again, let me send you folks out to go far and wide and tell everyone you know and let all the people know about that right there. The Forbidden Library Kickstarter, which is currently sitting at 8,070, 270 backers. So we're 30 backers away from from full-color digital maps. And we are about $1,130 away. Is that right? No, that's completely not right. $1,930 away from getting to the $10,000 mark and getting more contributors and stuff like that. So definitely jump on board with that because it'll be cool. Oh, that's good. I'm glad, Sorcerer Dave. Yeah, I'm excited to do them. I enjoy doing these, and I'll continue to do more of them as time and circumstances warrant. So, but yeah, so I'm going to be back this evening on my own channel at home on my regular rig. And in the meantime, I hope that we will get a lot more with Forbidden Library stuff. So please let people know about that. Also, don't forget about the other ways to support the stream. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to follow the channel. Check out the YouTube with !ArvTube, the Discord !ArvCord, the Twitter with !ArvTweets. Oh, thank you, Pexi. I appreciate that. Yeah, I enjoy doing these. So, !ArvTweets for the Twitter. And don't forget, of course, the shop, !ArvShop, arvanellarun.com for all that. Patreon, !ArvTreon, which is currently, I'll get this right someday, sitting at $333.96. And, of course, the sub button. We had a few people who resubbed, or about 40 subs, trying to get up to 50 those so we can increase the emotes. And for those who were a little bit late, don't forget, we have some new emotes now. In addition to this one, we also have that. There we go. Arvany what? Arvany whoa, Arvany hype. Those are now all global emotes, so you can feel free to use them. And if you're at level 2, then you can Arvany quill would be that as well, so you can do that as well. So, but thank you, everybody. Thank you, Paxi. Yeah, I'm happy about these. So, this is mostly ones that we used before, but we've now actually gotten transparencies and all that stuff. So, we will find out. And yeah, they're trying to throw me out now. It's Arvany all over. Yeah, but please double check on that and sub to the channel if you can. Spread the word. I will be back tonight again at 9 p.m. Eastern for Blade Runner, Patreon chosen game of the month from last month, and then tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern is D&D with viewers, and we'll be talking a lot, of course, about the Forbidden Library Kickstarter all the way through as we do that as well. But thanks for now, everyone. Much love, and I will see all of you wonderful people very soon. Until then, have a good one, and bye for now.